You
So
know
that's
what we
kind of where we're
didn't
at.
mention? I mean, it's so low hanging fruit. That's probably why we forgot to mention it is alcohol and how
Yep.
alcohol would be contributing to these issues in the gut and not only damaging the gut barrier, making leaky gut worse, but also feeding and making candida worse. Like we'll have people that clearly you're going to feel bad and dizzy and drunk if you're drunk, but you could have a small amount of alcohol, like a sip of a cider or a sip of a beer, and get symptoms from it. And that's likely because you've just added that onto the fire and possibly that candida is just flaring. I don't know if it's creating more toxin. I mean, what would you think when you have somebody that says, hey, I can drink a tiny bit of alcohol and I get very, very sick or drunk or symptomatic?
Yeah. So the kind of alcohol is going to be important because some alcohol is very, very low sugar to almost none. And some is much, much higher, right? Especially if you do one of these mixed drinks. So it really just depends. There's always going to be candida present in your gut. So the idea that we're going to have candida 100% gone is kind of a misnomer, but we're going to have it knocked down significantly where it's not a problem, right? And if you don't have all the other things lined up that we already mentioned with food and your immune and other infections under control and gut permeability and good bacteria, yeah, you may be more prone for a flare for something simple like alcohol. I mean, the goal should be we get you healthy enough for in the future. Yeah, if you choose healthier sources, hopefully there won't be a problem, right? That's our big goal. But just to kind of piggyback on top of what other mechanisms of why you may have mood issues is the acetaldehyde from that alcohol or from the candida is actually going to impair oxygen carrying capacity from your red blood cells. So you have less oxygen to your brain. What does that do? Less ability to regulate inflammation in the brain. And also alcohol or acetaldehyde, which is produced by the candida, inherently causes a B1 deficiency. And you chronically see low levels of B1 in alcoholics, but you'll also see it with chronic candida issues as well. And B1 is really important for brain and neurological health. And then if you have B1 issues, there's also a chance you could have B6. And B6 is really important for synthesizing your neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, etc. So you can see how these things can spiral out of control pretty fast.
Well, there's a condition of the elevated cryptopyrroles, this issue of pyluria that many people talk about. You've got Walsh and some of these other guys talking about these major mood issues, like you mentioned, schizophrenia, bipolar. You've got anxiety problems, OCD problems. A lot of those are linked to issues with low B6, low magnesium, low zinc. So if you're getting robbed,
Mm-hmm.
your gut's messed up, you may go after, like a lot of people will go and just treat pylorrhea. I've had practitioners, I won't mention the names, but people who go to these practitioners who
Yep.
specialize in like the Walsh and Pfeiffer protocols where you're working on copper and zinc ratios and you're doing this B vitamin and that B vitamin, but they've never worked backwards. It's just, hey, take this B6, take this zinc, but they don't ask the question, why? Why did this issue happen in the first place? So here they are stuck on this long-term protocol and they have no clear next step. I always ask the question, well, what did they tell you? What was the next step or the next protocol? And they said there was none. It's just take the zinc, take the B6 and just enjoy your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of going all in on one thing. And even if that one thing is there, other issues have to be present. The fact that that one thing is the driving factor and that there aren't other dietary or stressor issues is you're really going all in. I consider it to be like rearranging the deck chairs on a sinking ship. It's just
Mm-hmm.
okay, like I guess you're doing something, but it's not really fixing the underlying issue. So if we ever see, hey, is there a potential mood issue? Do we see markers on the organic acid test that show issues with B vitamins, especially B6? Like we'll look at xanthuronate or kinourinate. We're going to automatically supplement a foundational baseline of those nutrients just with general multi support. And if we see other markers, we could always just say, hey, let's try giving a little bit more zinc. Let's try giving a little bit more of these B vitamins and see what kind of effects we have. That's the easiest way to do it without having to go down kind of a rabbit hole, so to speak. And then also just in general, fixing the digestion, fixing the gut, you're going to be absorbing more of this stuff from your food anyway.
Well said. Coconut oil is pretty awesome. We found one paper here that was about using coconut oil to control overgrowth of fungal pathogens, aka Candida albicans. And this was just talking about, in comparison to the antifungal medications that coconut oil reduced. It wasn't just it wasn't just the candida itself. It's not that just the coconut oil kills the candida. No, it's actually reducing the colonies of it. So you can have this phenomenon that we'll see on the oat test where you've got colonization, meaning you may have yeast and mold hiding in a biofilm. And now you've got to address that. You can't just get the toxin out of this bucket. You've got a whole nother bucket of biofilm where this stuff's living, and coconut oil was shown to reduce that colony. So very, very cool. I think using coconut oil as a supplement to help this, but also just in your daily life is wonderful.